Hey everybody, welcome back to the Long Ball Podcast, Season 2, Episode 2. Last time Hayden and I spoke to you guys was last Sunday night, and the winter meetings were within hours of getting started, and boy, oh boy, what a busy week in baseball it was. Hayden's Mets making moves, our rival Phillies making moves, the Padres throwing money, Judge importantly got his name changed. It was a San Francisco Giant for 7 minutes. What do we mean by that? You'll find out. Stick around to see. So welcome back, Long Ball Podcast here. Blake Newsome, joined with Mets Talk with Hayden. And yeah, how's your week been, man?
Yeah, things have it's most certainly been a very hectic week around Major League Baseball. I mean, we've had over at least at least there are a dozen or so solid free agent signings and obtainments around Major League Baseball. Plenty to talk about with free agency, the draft lottery. It's most certainly been a hectic week. There's been some surprises in free agency. There's been some obvious moments, some shocking moments, but it's definitely been a crazy week. Winter meetings are in the books. It's always fun.
And so, as I have a hole in my face, I have a app on the side of my screen sharing the link to some viewers. And my full face is here for anybody that's wondering. I'm completely okay. I was as a Braves fan, very intrigued to see all the moves the Phillies and the Mets made this week. You guys replacing, Justin Verlander, or replacing Jacob deGrom with Justin Verlander. The Phillies landing the best shortstop in baseball for an 11-year deal. I'll be 30 by the time he's not a Philly anymore. You'll be over 30. That's how long that deal is. And, a plethora of other moves. Taijuan Walker went from you guys to Philly. He stayed in the division. You guys picked up Jose Quintana, Brandon Nimmo brought back. It's just crazy. And what the Braves do, waited all week until they traded their best positional prospect for a 1-year reliever. Joey Jimenez, yeah, he's got some good stuff, but very disappointing, to say the least, seeing you guys in the Phillies close our gap over the week time. What was the first signing, I guess, if we start on Monday, I guess the Trey Turner and Verlander day. What was the first signing that really shocked your world?
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess this was a pretty obvious one for me as a New York Mets fan. Got to be a little biased, but in terms of definitely a little bit caught off guard, I guess I would say probably. I mean, most of them were expected. I mean, I think last episode we actually did predict, and I think I got a couple of them right. I think I got the Trey Turner one correct. I got the Brandon Nimmo one correct. Right. I got the Aaron Judge one correct. I would say the most. I would say the most unique one was Cody Bellinger to the Cubs. I know it's a 1-year deal. I want to say like $19 million, so the typical qualifying offer. But that was just a unique deal. I mean, I know that Bellinger definitely hasn't been, and I guess if you want to get into the Cody Bellinger deal, start off with that first. Cody Bellinger definitely, the Cubs definitely took a little bit of an interesting move here. Obviously, Bellinger, the Dodgers parting ways after Bellinger, coming off a 2019 MVP season. And then, really since just hasn't really been able to get into his groove. 2020 was mediocre for him. He had that elbow surgery in the offseason, and the combination with his long swing, 2021, 2022, he was just abysmal. No power, low average, small ability to get on base, striking out like crazy. You could just tell that long swing, was not connecting with the ball. And, he just really fell out of place. And the Dodgers were putting him on the bench. They were throwing him at first, trying to get him out there as little as possible. And they pretty much, kind of said, all right, Mookie Betts is going to be, our star right fielder now. As they should. He's the one producing this talent now, with Bellinger not really doing much. And, he was non-tendered. Cubs picked him up, and, who knows, maybe he can go back to, will Bellinger ever go back to his 2019, 2018 self? We'll see. But, hopefully he can get back to some, 260 average at least. This is a guy who's hitting way below the Mendoza line, first tier, first percentile, rankings, just horrible. So hopefully the Cubs can fix this guy up. I mean, you look at the Cubs outfield now, what would it be? Probably Morel, Bellinger, and Seiya Suzuki. So it's not a horrible outfield.
Seiya Suzuki, yeah.
Yeah, it's Christopher Morel.
And we talked about this. we talked about the Cubs last week. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean just Christopher Morel, Cody Bellinger, Seiya Suzuki, an outfield of potential.
Yeah, and I know we spoke a little bit about the Cubs last week, and I don't know why my camera's lagging behind. Being that if they just spend a little bit of money, they could easily be second in that National League Central. I mean, you can basically surpass the Brewers as long as you beat them head to head, and the Cubs have honestly been able to do that pretty well for most of the rivalry until recently. They're probably the shoe-in to win their division this year, if everything goes right, which they're an organization where things usually do seem to go right. So I think we could bank on that. Pirates are not going to do anything this year. The Reds are only sell more pieces. So yeah, I mean, if mixed with the second place spot, battling for a wild card, maybe even pushing for the Cardinals a little bit. And the one thing I'll say I was wrong. I didn't know Contreras was a free agent this season. I know at the end of last episode, you kind of tried to get me to predict the Contreras signing, and I thought he was under control at the end of next season. Stupid of me, because that's like sacrilege. They replace a Hall of Fame catcher with the best one available on the market, and I'm sure that Cardinals fans are always remember him for that World Series title, but I'm sure there's a little bit of sting. I mean, what are they going to do now? You got Yan Gomes, you got a couple AA, AAA quality catchers. Maybe they go the Christian Vasquez route for 1 year, but I'm sure the Cubs are going to want to do at least something. Maybe they go that Christian Vasquez route. I mean, that was a really weird signing to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think more with Willson Contreras was his name wasn't really thrown out a whole lot. I mean, he was discussed at the deadline, wasn't traded at all, which really shocked MLB. Everyone said, all right, the Cubs are not going to even bother to trade this guy. They're going to let him walk in free agency. There's no way that Contreras was going to resign with the Cubs. There was a possibility, sure, considering he did stay after the trade deadline. But I mean, hey, the Cubs had the opportunity. Obviously, they weren't going to win anything in the second half. Kind of a silly move for the Cubs. Should have just traded him at the deadline instead of, at least you could have got something for him. But hey, and now the Cubs are going to have to find, a new catcher. The Cubs are a confusing team. I mean, they're willing to spend money, but they're willing to sign.
Every once in a while they are.
Yeah, just very weird team. And I agree with you.
What do you think?
Is up for grabs.
Yeah, it's very, very true, Connor. Welcome in everybody in the chat. Well, if you guys do leave a comment we haven't got to right away, we'll promise we get to it as soon as we get a little 30-second, 40-second break between our talking points. So yeah, we'll jump in here really quick. Of course, Gio, always checking on his guy Hayden. How you guys doing tonight? And Hayden, what's I always gonna ask you? You got a different cap on for every stream. What's with the significance of the Bills tonight?
Absolutely, just the hat I threw on. Big weekend coming up. Big weekend coming up. So got to wrap, 72 hours before.
You're already done with the Broncos for the year. I feel that. So that was a rough turn. I'm sorry about that. We already talked a little bit about Trey Turner. We'll have to go more depth into him here. 11 years, $300 million. That's a lot of money. And if the Phillies win a World Series here in the next couple of years, I think the rest of Philadelphia will say, who cares what he looks like at 38 years old? Who cares about what the 2030 Phillies look like? The only crazy thing is there's no opt-out, so they really can't be in the scenario where it's like, okay, you won us 2 rings, you're a future Hall of Famer, we can let you go. He's going to be there till he's probably 37, 38 years old. And hopefully, you hope it's not a Robinson Cano, Albert Pujols situation where the end of the contract just gets really unbearable. Kind of like, I guess Miguel Cabrera is kind of in that boat too. That's kind of what the Phillies are doing. They have 6 players owed over $1 billion. 6. That's crazy. They're talking about Steve Cohen and you guys. The Phillies are out here handing out money like it's candy canes left and right as well. So I don't know. As a Braves fan, I'm very scared. Very, very scared of what this division has in store. I'm a big believer that the Marlins will probably be about a 500 team by this year. I think we've said that for so many years now. They finally got to get over the hump and finally got to compete. There might be 4 good teams in the National League East this year. At least till August. Maybe somebody sells off by August, but there's 4 good team. I'm sorry to that. I'm sure if my buddy Ethan's watching, a big Washington Nationals fan, and Drew, if you are as well, sorry that you guys are not included in that mix. But hey, at least you don't got to face each team 20 times. You see, it's like 7 or 8 less. So that's a little bonus for you guys. But yeah, that Trey Turner deal, $300 million. You and I said that it'd be between him and Correa to sign first, within the market, and it was Trey. Within about 2 hours or so after, you guys got Verlander. So I'm sure I've heard a lot of Mets fans heard how ecstatic they were to get Justin Verlander, but within 2 hours be like, crap, the Phillies had to ruin our day. What was your partake on that?
Yeah,
First
I mean,
couple
listen,
hours.
I think the Phillies obtaining Trey Turner was definitely, I don't want to say it was a dire and a needed move, but I guess you could kind of say it was. Um, you know, right now you look at this Phillies infield. I mean, you have Rhys Hoskins at first. Second base, you'll figure out how that goes. Shortstop, you got Turner. Third, you got Bohm. Bryson Stott, you're young. I don't want to say prospect anymore, but this past season in 2022 was his rookie season. Bryson Stott was okay. It wasn't anything too crazy, but wasn't horrible. So potentially now you move
Yeah.
Stott over to second, put Turner at shortstop. And I think what's going to be huge, is Trey Turner's defense. He's a pretty solid defender. He's a pretty solid defensive player. Obviously, he's very known for his quick hands and his speed at the shortstop position, and that's something the Phillies have lacked was infield defense. I mean, overall defense was abysmal, but infield defense. I mean, we saw so many times last year where you'd see the shortstop or third baseman boot the ball, Bill Buckner, making Rhys Hoskins, stretching for his life, little stuff like that. So I think bringing in Turner is going to be huge. Obviously, he's a great defensive coach, no doubt. Obviously, he's a great defender. It also offers a great table setter for this lineup. He's obviously a great leadoff, if not a number 2 hitter. We saw so many times the Phillies, they were in the World Series last year. They hit plenty of home runs, but how many of those home runs were solo home runs? How many of those Schwarber, those Harper, those Castellanos, whatever? How many of those home runs that we saw were solo shots?
They didn't have enough contact, guys.
You need table setters. You need contact approach hitters, and Turner is exactly that. He's a guy who, maybe he'll hit you 20 home runs, great, but he's definitely going to give you anywhere from 160 to 200 hits on a season. That's going to be phenomenal for the Philadelphia Phillies. And he offers speed. Wasn't really, I guess, a crazy thing for the Phillies. And really a lot of baseball right now, we don't really see it as guys stealing bases. But Turner is a guy who, once he gets on first or gets on second, pitcher's going to be worrying about him. Catcher's going to be worrying about him, along with the whole infield. So it is a great move for the Phillies. In terms of the contract, I mean, financially, I think it's decent. It's the years that worry me. Right now you have to look at it. It's going to be an 11-year deal. And obviously Trey Turner right now is 29. So yeah, I mean, are you going to be okay having, a 37, 38-year-old shortstop out there? Obviously coming that time, he's not going to have the speed he has. He's not going to have the versatility he has. I guess, like I said, the Phillies made the decision, look at it for the next 3 years and, keep adding on after those 3. I guess the Phillies will deal with that when it comes. But definitely a good move for the Phillies. I give them props for that.
And so, I mean, always been a notorious Atlanta Brave killer, which was for all those years. And then we saw him in our World Series run. We saw him, in 6 big games last year among the Freddie Freeman return controversies. Yeah, he's another guy where I got to buckle up and be like, you know what? He's going to be playing the Braves a lot for the rest of his career, and he's going to be a guy that you got to look out for. I think I talked myself into, other people in this network, of course, are all big Philadelphia sports fans. So they're big Philly fans at heart. And it was kind of easier to kind of talk myself into, you know what, the Phillies are probably going to get one of these top 4 shortstops, kind of expect it instead of be like, oh, no, they're beefing up. They're looking like a scary team, which is true. But when you expect something, like I expect them to get Xander Bogaerts, I thought that Dave Dombrowski, Boston Red Sox connection would maybe pay a little bit out. But no, they shoveled even more money, 20 more million at that, at Trey Turner. And yeah, he's going to be, him and Bryce Harper are reunited. I know Nationals fans are sick over that too. And yeah, they're going to cause some problems in the East. I mean, if you didn't think the National League East was the best division in baseball, I got news for you. It's most definitely the best division in baseball. Yeah, we're going to have 4 good teams this year. So very, very excited to see how Jump back into the comments here. We got Almighty Finesse. He says, "Was good? What's good with you, man?" And he says, "Yankees all day. You heard?" Hear from you? Yeah. Lucas Mile comes in and says, "NL East is loaded. Could not agree more." You're talking to
Yeah.
a Braves and a Mets fan here. Plenty of Phillies fans on this network, so yeah, we know quite a lot. We had some Marlins fans in the chat last episode, so yeah, Nationals just won it all like 3 years ago. This is very, very, very tough but fun division. That is for sure. You got great pitching, great lineups, all new ballparks. None of them are a bunch of crap holes like Oko Coliseum. A lot of nice ballparks. So they're all like within 15 years of age. So very nice division. But let's stop flowering our division for like 5 or 10 minutes, shall we? Because I want to transition before we get to the Justin Verlander thing. We kind of brought up the Xander Bogaerts conversation. How he so of course he signs with the Padres, 11 years, $280 million, which is $20 million less than the Trey Turner deal. Very similar, maybe a little bit of an overpay. But if I'm the Padres, I kind of understand having to overpay, and here's why. I'm sure you heard this news, Hayden. They offered Judge $380 million. He declined. And they also offered Trey Turner, who was I think a former Padre at some point, over $300 million. They declined. So the Padres are kind of panicking out here a little bit, saying, "Hey, we don't want to whiff 3 guys in a row. If you have to overpay, do so." And this brings up 2 interesting conversations for San Diego. San Diego being that they got to go beat LA again to get themselves in another conversation to win a World Series. But the thing that people are not mentioning is that Manny Machado has an opt-out in his contract after this year. If everything goes well with Fernando, you put him back at shortstop, you put him in right, you put him in left, you DH him. He's gonna be fine. I think that PAD scandal was not quite as bad as it looked. I really think it was a lot of the ringworm that ointment got to him. I don't really think we'll see at least how he comes back. If we look at him any differently, but I think for Fernando, it gives you a chance to better yourself in left field, right field, DH. And Manny Machado opts out next year. Well, Xander or Fernando are easily able to make the move over to third base, and the Padres, almost like a Trey Turner type signing, or I'm sorry, Trevor Story type signing, have a plan B without even being in need of one already. It's like the rich get richer. How shocked were you to see that deal break out at 11 p.m. San Diego time?
Yeah, I mean, being honest, I don't really expect the Padres to be willing to go after a shortstop. I mean, I know Tatis is not going to start the regular season on time. And you know what? I guess maybe the Padres just don't feel comfortable rocking out Ha-Seong Kim for, 2 months or so, I believe. I think this was definitely an interesting move. It kind of made me question do they really have an interest in Fernando Tatis anymore? Are fans upset with him? Does he still have the popularity that he used to have? Probably not. Yeah, I mean, you just look at this infield right now. I mean, this is a team that, at one point, and I guess you could technically still say does have an infield featuring guys like Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis Jr., Ha-Seong Kim, and Jay Cronenworth. And now you slide in Xander Bogaerts into that mix, a guy who, has postseason experience. I believe he's won 2 World Series rings back in Boston. So that definitely is going to be good for the Padres. Nice, postseason experience. That's definitely going to be huge for, great postseason performer in Xander Bogaerts. Yeah, I mean, I like I said,
yes,
the defensive plans are kind of still in question on how they're going to roll that out. Like you said, Tatis probably is going to go in the outfield. We know that they were kind of working on that, in 2021 and 2020. We'll see how that goes with Tatis. I mean, I don't want to get my hopes up too crazy.
300 million is a lot. 300 million is a lot to play outfield. That is for sure.
It is. So, I mean, we'll see. Obviously, Machado does have an opt-out next year. We'll see if he accepts it. We'll see if he leaves, if he stays. But, San Diego, they, I'll give them props. They definitely, last 3 seasons, it's been a big change for them. I mean, I could tell you, you look at that Padres team, and I don't know, like 2017, who was on it?
I think there's like 3 guys on their 26-man that were part of their organization coming up. So, I mean, they bought a team. And I guess you could give a touche look. Like the Dodgers are a lot more homegrown than people think, but it's just that they always get another guy year after year after year after year. Yeah, it's like people give the Dodgers a bunch of crap, and I mean, I've been there before too, saying that that they're this, they buy their team. Yeah, they've given a couple of their guys extensions and they go get that one guy every offseason, but that team is more homegrown than people think. The Padres, on the other hand, are all of a sudden shelling out cash. They used to be this small market team. They used to be a Milwaukee, Tampa type team. No, not anymore. Not anymore. As soon as the Chargers booked it up to LA, they've gotten a lot more money. That's for sure.
I know that's what I find interesting is the homegrown talent. I mean, as a Mets fan, as a Braves fan, we could both relate to this, is that both of our teams have had an excellence when it comes to homegrown talent. I mean, the Mets have obviously produced guys like Pete Alonso, Jeff McNeil, Brandon Nimmo. Those are our three big core guys that, the Mets drafted, they produced in the farm, and here they are. Same with your guys. And I mean, the Braves have had, whether that's Acuna, whether that's Albies, whoever, and you guys have a great excellence when it comes to your rookies having an outstanding performance, or your pre-arbitration guys. So, and I guess same goes for the Mets with guys like Alonso and McNeil, their rookie seasons. Obviously, Alonso had a phenomenal rookie season and still has. But yeah, I mean that is one thing that I do kind of. If I were to bash on the Padres, that is the one thing is they bought. I mean, look at that Padres roster. How many of those guys are homegrown? Is Chrono? I mean, okay. Well, no, technically he was White Sox, but
well,
in the
I look at it, if you trade for them as like a single A, double A, I think it really depends on what their stock is. Like if you're selling at the deadline and you're trying to get a top prospect, then I wouldn't really say they're part of your farm. But like, for example, the Braves got Max Fried and a Justin Upton deal in like 2015. He was probably a single A, double A guy in that San Diego system, ironically. I would probably say he's homegrown since, he wasn't this, okay, we're trading a superstar in August. We're not going to win. You give us one of your top prospects. You go win a ring with this guy. We'll take him and we shake hands.
Right.
I think there's that fine line defining how. So, yeah, I guess Fernando, would you interpret it as he was Padres homegrown, or was he a White Sox prospect that came over? Let's decide that here.
I mean, so he was traded for Sheffield or whoever, whatever his name, Shields, whatever his name was, who was a complete bust for the White Sox. What year? Yeah, how old was Tatis when he was?
Oh,
and what? And what was he, an A-ball, a Dominican League?
I couldn't tell you. I really couldn't.
Nah. I honestly, I'd probably say he's part of the Padres organization. I mean, considering it's probably, spent AA, AAA at least. I think Cronenworth may be a Padres homegrown player. Otherwise, that's really it. Maybe some pitching, but
pitching wise, I mean, Joe Musgrove, no. Snell and Darvish, no. Snell probably should be back. Being that Manaea and Clevenger are already out the door. Yeah, they traded a couple of their
guys like Brian Weather.
No, and most of their bullpen's not that way either. They signed a couple of those guys, traded for a couple others. I mean, a lot of their prospects were sent to Cleveland in that Mike Clevenger trade. I'm sure they'd have at least a couple of those guys in the majors by now. That's a big defining piece. They had two different new first basemen last year. Luke Voit was in a trade with the Yankees, and they also had Josh Bell in that trade with Soto. Soto, of course, a Nationals product. Trent Grisham was a product of the Brewers. Profars at the Oakland Athletics for a long time. Machado with the Orioles. Hyung-Sung Kim was a free agent signing from the Asian leagues, right? So I guess you could maybe similar boat to Fernando, kind of put him in that boat. First base, no. I mean, whoever ends up there, because Bell's gone, and so
Cronenworth.
Yeah, Cronenworth, I guess. Yeah, Austin Nola. I don't. Has he spent his whole career in San Diego? I don't think so.
I get confused with his brother.
Yeah, that's true. I know Aaron has in Philly. Jorge Alfaro is not. The
Phillies do. I mean, the Phillies have been a team. I mean, that is one thing I'd like the Phillies to examine more is their farm. I mean, this is a team who definitely is ranked. A team that's the Phillies are a team that's ranked that the Phillies are a team that is ranked very low when it comes to their farm. I mean, also look, what guys have Phillies produced. I mean, whether we're talking Nola, Hoskins. their farm has maybe one or two guys in the mix that you can keep an eye out for, but
Matt
definitely the
Vierling,
Phillies. Dombrowski definitely needs to start getting back to that old traditional roots of drafting guys and letting them develop and, having promising guys in single A and double A. I mean, we'll see, they have guys like Stott, Bohm. We'll see how they pan out. But, yeah, Phillies definitely, need to develop. But, at least the Padres have a good farm. The Padres have a top 5 farm. But that aside, we'll see how things go.
Yeah, that's true. I'm sure they'll have to end up using some of them eventually. And that's kind of what I hinted on it with the Padres, with the Phillies last episode, is that they had some luxury tax issues the last couple of years, but they finally started rebuilding that luxury tax issue into completing the team and trusting their farm system a little bit more, letting guys go like Didi Gregorius, and letting guys go like not really Zach Eflin, but other guys of that status like Jay Bruce, and letting those guys go. And they gave opportunities to Dalton Guthrie. They gave opportunities to Matt Vierling. The Mickey Moniak didn't work out, but at least they gave him the shot. Bryson Stott, I think he's going to do great things at second base this year. He was hitting 200 for the longest time in the majors, but they kept him up there, and he got better as the year went. And I think he finished the year like 240, which is not bad, for playing 4 months, 4 months as a rookie, being thrown into the fire, into a really good lineup. So I think Stott's got a bright future, that's for sure. Bohm has had some issues here and there, but he was like, him and Hoskins were probably the first of this wave, after they got Harper, of them saying, okay, well, these guys could be good. Let's try them. You got Hoskins, I remember, was originally in left field. They did not know where to put him, and he was really bad out in left field. They had McCutchen and they had Harper out there. And, when McCutchen tore his ACL, they ended up trading for Jay Bruce, because that was the year with Carlos Santana, if I'm not mistaken. He was a one and done right back to Cleveland as the cookie crumbles. Yeah, I think that's the one thing that the Phillies are currently in the process of trying to build that farm and use them a little bit more. Because if some of these contracts don't work out, and you end up having to ship some guys off in a couple years to kind of reap the benefits of resetting the luxury tax, kind of like the Dodgers are doing this offseason, which is why they've been really quiet. You got farm guys to clog holes right away. So yeah, the Braves, Mets, and Phillies, it's going to be a 3-way race every year for the next 6, and throw in the Marlins, and you got a party. So I see here, we kind of, before we get one more topic, before we get to, the Mets signings, including Verlander, I'll let you go on your little exploration about that. Talk about the Dodgers here, since we did kind of bring up the Padres. They've been quiet. I think they made, maybe a little reliever signing. I think they had a couple MILB guys signed up, kind of like the Braves have. But from what I heard, the reason they're doing that is they're trying to reset their luxury tax. They're trying to get out of the penalties. And they say they have this top farm system. Everybody that comes up whenever an injury happens just seems to perform lackadaisical. They're just great. So yeah, I think they're trying to let that farm clog holes for a year. I'm sure they'll get somebody. It just won't be the usual $230 million star that they get every offseason, and just kind of reset their value for 2024. Because I think 2025, the Dodgers got a lot of money opening right back up. So they don't give the long-term deals like everybody thinks. They give 4-year deals. You don't see the Dodgers give a lot of 8-year deals. What was your most interesting take about the Dodgers being quiet? Because, I don't mind it. I don't mind them swooping up everybody. That's for sure.
Yeah, right now the Dodgers are really in an interesting spot, and I do agree with you, and I really do agree with you when it comes to in terms of the luxury tax threshold, because right now you see a lot of their impending free agents leaving. Obviously they non-tendered Cody Bellinger. A lot of their bullpen guys are being shipped off away, whether that's David Price, whoever. Like a lot of other pitching staff, John Tyler Anderson, David Price.
Heaney left for the Rangers.
Andrew Heaney, look in terms of their infield, Justin Turner, he's a great veteran presence there who's really, really through, started the successful part of his career, Trey Turner. So, it comes to it right now is, what are the Dodgers trying to do? Are the Dodgers going to make that big splash and just, kind of go AWOL and sign, the top 2, top 3 huge, free agents on the market right now? Obviously, Correa was a guy in mind. They kind of said that creates some animosity between, the clubhouse and fans, which, I think that is fair. In terms of the shortstop, I think after, really, who else would there be on the market? So, right now, Dodgers, I'm curious to see what they do. I mean, they're an elite team regardless. They have a great farm system. I mean, they call up guys like Tracy Thompson and Zach McKinstry, and they just hit 2 home runs every week. So just little stuff like that, I'm sure it'll make them successful. They still have a great team built around them. I mean, I still think they're going to win the division. But yeah, I'm curious to see what they do this offseason. If they're going to make a huge blockbuster trade. They still do have a great team built around them. They really do. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, are they going to make this big blockbuster trade with, Oakland or the Nationals or whoever else is out there that's selling? Are they going to sign, some big free agent? We'll see. It's really going to be interesting.
And, we'll kind of dive into his roster as of right now to maybe get a better feeling, which we got to give ourselves pats on the back. We called that Carlos Correa no signing, as clear as day. We didn't think the Yankees or Dodgers would have any interest in him because they still feel that animosity, and that's very true. Now that means maybe they're pushing a lot harder for my guy, Dansby Swanson. Who knows? I don't think the Dodgers will roll out there with Gavin Lux, which I was very high on Gavin Lux. I still think he's coming around. I think he is going to be a stud. I also love the name Gavin Lux. Like, that's a baseball player. That's a name for a ball player right there. The next prospect that I'm really high on them is James Outman. I think he came up in June or July. They played a series in Coors where I think Chris Taylor was a little banged up. Trace Thompson maybe needed a couple of days off. They bring him up, and as you said, first at bat, second at bat was a homer. So, like, the dude's a stud. I think he's going to be the biggest prospect to break out next for the Dodgers. I mean, unless maybe Dustin May finally figures it out this year on the pitching end. Yeah, I think he plays center field. I think he also can play the middle infield, if I'm not mistaken. But, I mean, if anything, you got Chris Taylor out in left, Mookie Betts out in right. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw, Trace Thompson and Outman, platoon out there in the outfield situation. They brought back Max Muncy for one more year. I know that his year wasn't great last year, but it was injury riddled. You got to think he'll be definitely better than that this year. Trae Young just got his.
Where are they going to put Muncy at second?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's his position on her. I'm so surprised.
Well, they tried putting him first, but I just with that elbow and that injury, would you put him at first then?
I guess you could also DH him. I don't think Freddie's.
Well, you got Freeman now. Never mind. You can't put him at first.
That's true. Yeah, I think the higher likelihood is you see him go to DH. At least, maybe they find another position for him if they're facing a lefty on the mound where they get an extra lefty in the lineup. I'm sure. I mean, the Dodgers have 11 guys that are always available. Now with the DH, it's play every day, and they always have at least 1 or 2 studs available off the bench, whether it's a Hansel Robles or what's his name, Hansel Alberto. Whether it's another middle infield guy. They always have Austin Barnes available, who's not bad as a backup catcher at all. So that's that part hasn't changed. They got Will Smith, they got Austin Barnes at the catching position. Infield wise, you still got Lux, you still got Freddie. I mean, I guess at this point maybe Muncy does slide into second or third base if Turner and they don't get a Justin Turner, and if they don't bring a shortstop back in. Pitching wise, I mean, Walker Buehler is still probably going to miss most of this season. He had dead arm. He's probably going to be in a Chris Sale 2021 move, or maybe he comes back, throws some innings in September, and maybe helps him out for like four inning starts in the playoffs. I mean, this is a very interesting year for them. Kershaw, once again, the 1 year, $18 million Kershaw move, going back to LA for the 1 billionth time. Dustin May, I think a lot of eyes are on him. He's been a guy with all the talent, but hasn't had the rotational time. And being that he's had a couple of years now to tune stuff in the big leagues and in Oklahoma City as a starter, I would expect Dustin May to perform really well this year. Tony Gonsolin broke out last year. I think this is the Dustin May season. You still got Kershaw. Yeah, I mean, they lost both Heaney and Tyler Anderson, which is really interesting. As I said, Buehler's not going to be there for a couple months. Bauer's still not going to be there. I think his contract's up after 2023 or 2024. I don't think he's going to play again as a Los Angeles Dodger. So, yeah, their starting rotation looks very weak for the Dodgers. So I guess if there's another splash they'll make, it'll probably be in that regard. What do you think before we get to bullpen?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if they, maybe go for like a Carlos Rodon, a nice lefty to that rotation. Definitely Dodgers are gonna at least want to sign one infield with who has a strong bat, along with probably a starter.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, listen, you have a lot of bulking guys, guys that could, either be a bullpen or, 6 number starter, like you said, whether that's like a Dustin May or Tony Gonsolin, whoever. But I agree with you. That rotation definitely needs some work. I get it. Julio Urias is good.
Proud about him. Yep. There you go.
Walker Buehler, Clayton Kershaw, great veteran. Dustin May's coming back from Tommy John. We'll see how he performs. So definitely that rotation does need some work. That number 4 or 5 spot definitely is going to need at least another signing, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, bullpen-wise, you still got the young guys. You still got Graterol, who throws 103, loves to chug milk. You also got Alex Vesia. Like, you got 2 young guys back there. And the Dodgers are always a team. If they need bullpen, they'll find it. Whether it's in Oklahoma City, whether it's on the waiver wire, they pick up guys like Shane Green, Cole Hamels, a bunch of guys that can fill slots out there. That David Price was the addition to the Mookie Betts trade. He was okay for them in that role. The Dodgers will always be able to find guys. I mean, that's not the hardest thing to trade for when they have a good farm system. If they're really in desperate need, they can go get a guy or 2. Last year they tried the Craig Kimbrel route, didn't work out. They tried the Chris Martin route, worked out really well. I'm sure there's other guys not even thinking of. So yeah, the bullpen should be fine. And with the Dodgers, they can score 8 runs at any given night. Their starting rotation can go 7 scoreless on any given night, where their bullpen isn't really as necessarily needed as other teams, which have flaws without the other parts of the roster. So yeah, I mean, the Dodgers will be fine. I mean, they're probably still going to win the National League West. They're the best regular season team in baseball the last 15-ish years. Definitely last decade, but I know they had some good years in the late 2000s as well. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at with them. I know that they're a little bit more quiet because of the luxury tax, which makes 2024, they have a couple more signings they probably like to make. Maybe they like that free agency class more. Maybe it has to deal with extensions to guys like Will Smith and Vesia and Urias and everything. We'll have to see. But yeah, the Dodgers will be fine. I think we can admit that. They'll definitely be another 105-win team as they are every year. Let's see. So Sicko comes. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. Let me know if I'm not. Do a trade for a starter. Okay, yeah, that's kind of in that same boat. But you let us know if you disagree with any of our thoughts and fire them back at us. You know the team better than we do. So yeah, time for your little bets tangent here. Of course, they got David Robertson on the one-year contract, saying, hey, you know what, Phillies, he's done with your 10 years. He's a Met now. Bringing in Justin Verlander, the reigning Cy Young, fine one of baseball. Jose Quintana, one of the better lefty signings on the market. He was good in both St. Louis and Pittsburgh last year, and others. Go ahead, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I mean, I guess let's get started. I guess we'll get started with Verlander. I guess we'll go in order. So yeah, obviously Verlander, a deal that I projected on here, and I think kind of was projected on my mind for really the whole offseason. I mean, honestly, once you lost DeGrom, I think it was kind of like you got to go for Verlander. You still have to keep that elite veteran presence in, the rotation. You still want to have that 1-2 punch of the elite veteran caliber players. And, that's the goal of the Mets rotation, for years to come now is, you have that 1-2 punch by, elite caliber veteran players, followed by, a number 3 mid-tier player and maybe 4 or 5, some, younger players. So that's definitely what the Mets goal is for an ideal rotation ahead. Verlander brings some great stuff to this team. Obviously, he's he has a ton of postseason performances, a ton of postseason experience. Definitely had his fair share of issues in the World Series. I would say this is his first year, 2022, where he actually pitched well in the World Series. He got his first World Series win. So hopefully that could be a new streak for him in the head. The Mets, obviously. Wink, wink. But yeah, obviously, Verlander, I'm glad it was a 2-year deal. That was the one thing that I was a little worried about if the Mets were going to sign him. Was it going to be this 3-4-year contract? $40 million. There were rumors that Verlander wanted, 4 years, $40 million AAV. And I don't think I need to explain to anyone why you would give a 40-year-old a $40 million AAV contract for 4 years. That's a disaster to come. So obviously, I think 2 years is fair. I get it. You're paying him quite a bit of money. I understand that. But I think, it's a risk that was necessary. It really was. So I'm definitely excited for it. It's going to be great. You get to see Kate Upton at Citi Field, so that's definitely going to be a benefit for many people, of course, and obviously Verlander pitching. Most likely, it's going to be debatable who's going to be that number one starter. Is it going to be Verlander? Is it going to be Scherzer? It's going to be a crazy battle to come. It's going to be exciting, actually. That is one thing someone asked me before. Someone was like, Hayden, who's going to be the number one starter? Is it going to be DeGrom? Is it going to be Verlander or Scherzer? And I said, honestly, I have no idea. So, yeah, I'm super excited for that. It's going to be a fun battle. That'll come probably in spring training, that little, questionnaire. So Verlander, that's move number one. Number two, you got Jose Quintana. Another great signing, another phenomenal signing, and indeed, to say for the least. I actually woke up very late that day. I woke up at 1 p.m. Definitely interesting night, but yeah, obviously I woke up and I got like 10 text messages. Yo, bro, Jose Quintana. Look all over my Instagram and a million notifications, and I'm like, oh, say less. We signed him 2 hours ago. Let's go. Definitely an underrated move, a move that I didn't really expect the Mets to make. But Quintana, he has decent stats. They speak for himself. He's a much better upgrade, for a number 4 or number 3 guy instead of a Taiwan Walker type. So he's the guy who has been known to go out there and give you 30 starts a year. The innings pitched, in the last 4 seasons, he's pitched 200 innings. So he's a guy that has consistency. He's a guy that'll go out there regularly. So yeah, obviously Jose Quintana is definitely a great addition to this New York Mets squad. Probably be a number 4 role or someone, I'd say, most likely. But definitely he is a great asset to this team. Obviously a lefty, so that that's some sort of remedy to this Mets rotation of lack of lefties. Now that's no longer an issue for them. So definitely a good signing, in my opinion. 2 years, high AV, typical thing that the Mets are going for. Obviously, I guess finishing off the pitching with David Robertson, another unique move, a move that I also didn't expect to get. Nice little setup role. The Mets got him, but at the wrong time. That they were pushing for him, and a lot of Mets fans, including myself, wanted him at last year's trade deadline. You didn't get him. The Phillies traded for him for pretty much a bag of peanuts, literally nothing. And here he is now. He's in a New York Mets uniform. He's a nice guy, has an awesome knuckleball, David Robertson. Great pitcher. Obviously, we saw him a little bit in Chicago and a little bit in Philadelphia last year. So, he'll be 30, 38, 37. So nice little veteran role, 1-year deal. Can't go wrong. Like I said, setup man. He's a tall guy, has some good stuff in his arsenal. So yeah, going to be super exciting to see him in a Mets uniform. Nice little setup role. Obviously, if a guy like Seth Lugo or whoever doesn't come back, you already have that role figured out. So those are the 3 pitching. And, of course, Brandon Tate Nimmo, my favorite move by far. I was out to dinner last night, and my phone goes off, and I was so excited. I had to rush home and go AWOL in my room. I was unbelievably happy with this move. When it comes to Brandon Nimmo, was a guy that, I really wanted the Mets to bring back, but I was kind of like, it's going to be 50-50. There may be a possibility he doesn't return, and I would be very upset. And, I'm glad the Mets took him back, because if you lost Nimmo, you really would have took 2 steps backwards. You would have had to, 1, go after another table setter. Nimmo, I don't need to explain, but Nimmo is a great table setter to this lineup. He's known for getting on base. Death, taxes, and Nimmo getting on base. That's the saying. He's a high average, well, yeah, I guess you could say decent average guy, but a high on base percentage guy. He finds a way. He's a great leadoff guy. And if you lose that, that's really hard to replace a high leadoff OBP outfielder right now in the market, and especially a guy who defensively has been phenomenal the last 2 seasons. I mean, 3 years ago, he was one of the worst defensive players in the league. It was like Nick Castellanos, who couldn't field the ball properly. Now he's making these robbing, home runs and sliding catches, and that have a catch probability of like 2%. So super, exciting. The Mets brought back Nimmo. 8 years, 162 million. He's going to be 30 years old. I understand people are a little curious about the contract for 8 years. I think it was a desperate move, and honestly, I'd much rather get 5 good years out of Nimmo than him walk, because the Mets wouldn't give him 8. I think definitely, with years to come, he'll definitely move from center. Obviously, center field is his main position. Obviously, if you didn't bring back Nimmo, you would have had to put Marte in center, and that would have created so much more disaster. So, like I said, there's more pros to bringing back Nimmo than not. If you lost Nimmo, you would have had to go out in the market again, find a high OBP outfielder. Who else is there in terms of the outfield market right now? Kevin Kiermaier, great defensively, but he's not going to do anything bad. So, there's only so much. So, obviously, I'm super happy the Mets brought back Nimmo. He's your homegrown guy. He's probably going to be a Met for life. Yeah, obviously, he's a fan favorite, Mr. Smile, Mr. Tate, whatever his nickname is, number 9. I met him in spring training last year. Great with the fans. That's true. But he has a better smile, in my opinion. But yeah, he's very friendly, one of the friendliest guys in the game. I met him last year. Have a picture with him. He signed a ball for me. He's a phenomenal guy. But yeah, super, super happy the Mets made those 4 moves. Definitely a busy week. They're not done yet. Definitely, in talks with guys like Kodai Senga. I heard Carlos Correa. Just saying, the Mets were a potential team. So Steve Cohen is pretty much saying his luxury tax he doesn't care.
Bite his bullet.
He's going over the Steve Cohen tax. So, yeah, I'm very happy with this. It's been a very hectic week for New York Mets baseball. They're definitely showing that they want to win. This is a team that has a lot of ambition. Like I said, I think this team just needs maybe one more decent arm and a big power bat for the DH role. And I think I'd consider it a successful offseason.
The point where you said when you were at dinner last night and you saw that they signed Brandon Nimmo back, and how happy you were that you had to rush home to film and to kind of celebrate. I'm hoping I'm that same way with Dansby. I really am. The one guy that was your one homegrown guy that was on the market that you guys wanted to bring back, make a Met for life. I'm that, and I hope that comes true. The one thing that definitely gets under my skin as someone who watches Brandon Nimmo from the enemy side, and your pick is so easy, and it's nothing that he does. The dude's a hustler. Anytime you walk, he's
exactly
freaking sprinting down to first base. As Hayden showing a good representation of that there. I remember there was one time in Brace Twitter, we got so mad at him, we struck him out like 3 times in one game. He said, "I wonder what's a run back to the dugout like he does to first base," which is definitely a joke in itself. So Gio, of course, says here, the Mets are going all in, and I absolutely love it. Of course, why wouldn't you? Love Nimmo very much. He's a great athlete and always hustles. That is true. Lucas Milo comes in, said Nimmo's positive energy is good people. His player arc has been incredible to watch. Yeah, and Hayden, you can tell me if I'm wrong if you're here or not. I know he battled injuries for a year or two, because I know there was a couple years where you didn't really hear his name as much as you heard other Mets in that rotational period where you guys were kind of bouncing back from the World Series appearance and kind of building back up to the end of the Wilpon era. This is really not my point to talk. This is Hayden's guy, not really mine. But yeah, I guess from a Braves fan point of view, Nimmo's a great athlete. What was the AAV at, Hayden, for Nimmo? What's it stand? It's 8 years, 162, right? So what's 12 million?
20.
20? Okay. Yeah, that's not. So. Oh, that's what I was kind of saying when you were gone. Did he battle injury history there for a couple years?
Yeah, I guess that would have been kind of a little bit of a deterrent for the Mets wanting to bring him back, was the injury, prone, being very prone to injuries.
Because I know,
excuse me, sorry.
Years,
he's been plagued with injuries. Whether that was a collapsed lung, a neck, an arm, a finger. He's definitely had his fair share of injuries, but this was, Nimmo obviously didn't spend any time in the IL this year.
When you hustle like that, though, there's a higher chance of injury.
What? Say that again?
I said, but when you also hustle like that, there's also a higher chance of injury with how hard you press.
Yeah, that's true. But, this was, Nimmo was healthy all season, so, see how it goes.
So, how would you rate On a scale of 1 to 10, we'll go over the signings one more time. How do you rate the Verlander signing? Use your heart here, not your head, your whole heart. Out of 10.
I would honestly give the Verlander a 9.
Okay. What about Nimmo?
I got to give that a 10. I really do think that was the move. That was by far the move.
I hope that I'm in that same boat here with Dansby here. I really do. And what about Quintana? What do you give that 1 out of 10?
Give that a 7.
And lastly, what about Robertson?
Yeah, I mean, considering the bullpen is definitely going to be interesting. As of now, I'll probably give that a 7, but we'll see how the rest of the offseason goes. Could go up, considering, if they target any other bullpen arms. But right now, I give that a 7 also. Definitely an underrated move, but yeah, we'll see how he is.
I mean, I know you guys got a couple relievers, that are on the market there. Like I know Joely Rodriguez expiring deal. You want that other lefty. Ottavino and Trevor May are both, on the free agent market.
Seth Lugo.
Do you think any of those? Yeah, Seth Lugo too. How many of those 4 you think return? At least 1?
Yeah, out of those 4, it's kind of hard with relievers. Like I said, they're streaky. I would like Lugo. I think.
Yeah.
If I were to take 2, I think it would be Lugo and Ottavino. Rodriguez, Dolly. No, I set him to Mars. I can care less. And
what about the Fortnite game or Trevor May?
Trevor May, yeah, no. Also him, no. He's a disaster. He throws meatballs, giving up all these barrels, home runs, and talking about streaming after the game and not why he played bad. No, he's a good clubhouse guy, but I don't trust him out there. Simply enough, he's a guy who's just injured constantly with the Mets, and just the 2 years that he was here, I felt with May it was more frustrating than actually happy. So yeah, out of those 4, the only 2 that I would really want to see back is Lugo and Ottavino. Hoping you can get at least one of those 2. Obviously, Trevor Williams signed with the Nationals today. Don't really understand that move, but 2 years, good luck. He was a guy that I kind of wanted the Mets to bring back. Great long reliever type guy. But yeah, I mean, right now I'm hoping you could at least get Lugo and Ottavino. There's been rumors that Lugo's been talking with the Padres and Dodgers about being a starter. As a Mets fan who observed Lugo for quite some time and seeing his ability to be a starter, you may want to be cognizant about that. I mean, Luis Rojas was a buffoon and tried doing that in 2020, and that completely messed him up for the next 2 years. And just seeing how Lugo has, when Lugo was called up in 2016, the Mets used him as a starter, constantly moving out into a starter, a bullpen, a starter, a bullpen, starter. Got with him way too much, affected his routine. You got to keep, in my opinion, I think Lugo's a 1-inning guy. I really do. The analytics don't like him pitching more than an inning.
So, definitely a great week for you guys in the Phillies. As I said, my Braves literally did nothing. We made an MILB signing 2 depth guys, a catcher and a third baseman, both by the name of Hudson, and then Joe Jimenez trade. That's it. That's all we did. Now, granted, maybe all we need to do is the shortstop and either a left fielder or a 5th starter. That's really all the Braves really do need. But yeah, the big piece for us, you guys got your big core back in Nimmo. Love to bring back Dansby as well. I think Luke Jackson is probably off the market with the Joey Menace trade. The Braves bullpen's pretty much complete. You got Nick Anderson, Colin McHugh, Kirby Yates basically for free. Brought back our long reliever Jesse Chavez. Traded both Dennis Santana and Kobe Allard from the Rangers. Still got Dylan Lee. Still got AJ Minter. Raisel Iglesias to take over the closing role. And we got a couple quadruple A starters. I mean, one's probably going to end up being moved to the bullpen for some time at this point this season. So, yeah, I mean, bullpens for the Braves is pretty much complete. It's really, other than Dansby, I would just love another lefty starter or a right-handed bat to platoon with Eddie Rosario in left field. But enough Braves and Mets talk. There's 28 other teams in the league. We're almost at an hour. And we haven't even mentioned Arson Judge signing with the San Francisco Giants. And then 7 minutes later, Aaron Judge goes to the Yankees back home to be the next captain. 9 years, $360 million. Apparently, he dined out with the Giants and the Padres just to get his price up a little bit and said, "I want to be a Yankee." They offered me 400. I'll take 360. I'm guessing the Yankees' original offer was something like 340, 350, and he back to you guys if you give me X instead of Y. It worked out. Yankees get their guy back for the next year. He was 30 years of age, so they're deal by the time he's 37, where it's like 40 million for you to hit 260 and 25 homers for what it used to be. But if he wins a World Series or two over the next 9 years, I don't think the Yankees would care. What was your original? Well, first, what was your original reaction to the Jon Heyman thing? Because I'll tell you, I had a headache that day. I was laying down for 20 minutes, turned off the phone, was looking into a pillow just to help my Advil kick in. I turn back on my phone when I feel better 20 minutes later, and I see this man is signed with the Giants, and then all of a sudden isn't with the Giants. I'm like, what the hell, Twitter? So, what was your original reaction to that whole scheme?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely very chaotic, 7 minutes for Yankee fans. Arson Judge signing with the Giants, and then my apologies, my mistake, nothing's clear. Those 7 minutes must have been rough for Yankee fans, I'll say. Yeah, I mean, honestly, with Judge going back to the Yankees, I wasn't really surprised. Like I said, I think it was between the Yankees or the Giants. I was under the impression that Judge's relationship with Steinbrenner and Cashman was not great. I felt that Judge was not happy with the current organization in the front office, but maybe I was wrong. But yeah, like I said, Judge had success for this team. Got called up in 2017 rookie season. 52 home runs was later beat by another player, but we'll save that for another time. Yeah, Judge is he's definitely well worth being the captain of the New York Yankees. Definitely down the line, we'll see how that goes. The Yankees and Judge, that's their franchise player right now by far. So it's definitely very, listen, I'm a Met fan, but I'm happy for the Yankees that they got him back. He is by far a guy that is going to do a lot of great things for them down the line. Contract, in my opinion, was reasonable. So yeah, we'll see how Mr. Arson or Aaron Judge, whatever you want to call him now, performs with the Yankees for the next decade.
Really, it's just the health thing. If he's healthy for these next couple of years in his prime and gets him a World Series rank number 28, contract's all fine. They'll love him till the end of time. Yeah, I mean, I think at this point, like, he's done a lot in his career. I guess the only thing he hasn't done is get to the World Series. He's finally been able to stay healthy the last 2 seasons. He's broken the single season home run record. He broke the rookie home run record before our guy, New York Met and Florida Gator, Pete Alonso, broke it again in 2019. Yeah, I knew you were going with that one. I'll give him the shout out. And yeah, I mean, the dude's tough. Like, he's 6'7", 6'8", whatever it is, like 250 pounds. He's just a beast of a man. And yeah, I think it's I know Yankee fans are happy. I'm just kind of glad he's not in the National League. Don't got to deal with him, and other than 3 games a year and a possible 2 out of 30 odd Warriors chance. So cool to see for Judge. Back to our notes here. See if there's anything else. Definitely a lot happened this week. That's for sure. We already talked about Wilson Contreras. What that meant for both sides. Talked about Aaron Judge. Talked about Trey, Xander, the Mets signings. We talked about Taijuan Walker and that Trey Turner deal, of course. So yeah, we'll get into the Josh Bell and the Cody Bellinger signings. We'll start with Josh Bell. Oh yeah, Taijuan as well. We'll get to. Let's start with Josh. We'll start with Josh Bell and then we'll move to Bellinger and Jameson. What else the Cubs will. What do you think about the most annual values that the Guardian/Indian has gotten in the last probably 20 years. What does this mean for Josh Naylor? I'm sure they'll find out maybe it's a better platoon role. Maybe he goes to DH. I don't know how he was defensively. That was the most interesting part to me. You have this young stud first baseman. Maybe it's just he wasn't good enough against lefties. I don't really know.
Yeah, I mean, Josh Bell to the Guardians, in my opinion, was definitely kind of a good move, in my opinion. I mean, right now the Guardians are definitely, in my, could compete for that division role again. I don't really think they'll have much of a challenge. You look at that infield, obviously, right now at first base, you're gonna have Josh Bell, Josh, Josh Bell, obviously Naylor. You can, platoon at first, platoon at DH with Bell. So those two guys could kind of flip flop at first and DH. Obviously, going around a little bit, you have Andres Jimenez, Ahmed Rosario, Jose Ramirez. Maybe take a little look in the outfield: Stephen Kwan, Miles Straw, Oscar Gonzalez. I mean, this is a team that has a great offensive core. Their pitching has definitely been known to be pretty good. Cleveland has always been great with building pitching, whether that's Shane Bieber, Tristan McKenzie, Zach Plesac, Cal Quantrill, Eli Morgan. Maybe taking a little trip to the bullpen. Emmanuel Clase, completely underrated bullpen arm, in my opinion. James Karinchak, if he could, maybe locate some pitches. This is a Guardians team that is really a pretty solid team. I mean, listen, there wasn't much talent in the AL Central last year, but still, I think this was definitely a good move to show that they are still going to be competitive regardless of, what the division's going to look like for them. I think it was a good move, low risk, nothing, doesn't hurt them. If anything, it benefits them. Nice lefty bat, good contact approach, has a little bit of power. We'll see. Cleveland, they're going to be an exciting team to watch.
Really, the thing for Cleveland is just getting over the hump and beating a team like Boston or New York in the first round. The AL Central gets into the first round every year because someone has to win that division. And they get crapped on by Houston or either, for years it was Boston and New York took turns. And it looks like the Yankees kind of have the high ground over Boston once again. Maybe the Blue Jays finally step up and are I really want to see the Blue Jays win the AL East. That's a for an episode later down this off season. Maybe when we start doing team previews, that'll be a fun idea. But yeah, sure. I think for this move, really all the Guardians got to do in-house still is you want to give Shane Bieber the extension. You got Tristan McKenzie, you got guys behind him, but you already paid J-Ram. Go give Shane Bieber his money as well. I find it so funny that Corey Kluber out let the Guardians advance to the DS last year, giving up that home run to Oscar Gonzalez. It seemed only right, who lived on a pineapple under the sea. It's just Cleveland is nearing 90 plus years of not winning a World Series. I don't know if it'll be changing soon. They blew that 3-1 lead to Chicago and their 108-year streak. That was a great World Series on 7 games. Somebody was going to end that losing streak. Two teams that are not far apart geographically, like other World Series matchups are. Yeah, if I'm a Guardians fan, I'm really excited. The Browns might always be a crap hole. The Cavs are good again. You got these Guardians are. I said it last year, even if they don't win the Central last season, which they ended up doing so, that they were just going to keep getting better and better. So really, we're going to keep adding pieces, and they're going to get better as the next 4 or 5 years progress. They still got a top 5, top 10 farm system, right? Like I know Fuzzy tweets about it all the time, which makes sense. It's his team, but man, that's a good team. You guys got Francisco Lindor. They got great pieces back. Win-win trade for both sides. The Rangers got 2 innings of Corey Kluber. They got Emmanuel Clase and others. A win of a trade for the Guardians. One thing they do, even if they don't dish out money, they don't lose trades. They either get a win-win or they finesse you. And good for them to go see, go get a guy like Josh Bell to add in the lineup. I think he fits perfectly there. They've been looking for that first baseman, since, they had Mike Napoli at the very end of his career there. And they also had, Carlos Santana for a couple seasons. Wow, we letting Ben Simmons shimmy on us. Good grief, Hawks. Anyways, moving over to winner of the 2016 World Series, the Chicago Cubs. Cody Bellinger and Jameson Taillon. Apparently they're in the loop to get Syndergaard, which how funny would that be if Stroman and Syndergaard same team again after all the... That'd be a nice 1-2-3 punch, that's for sure. You got Kyle Hendricks. He's getting older, but him as your fourth behind Taillon, Stroman, and Syndergaard, that would not be a bad rotation. But of course, we'll talk about what they do have right now. Is they got the former testicular cancer penis cancer. He survived it. Dude's a survivor. 3 Tommy Johns. Taillon is a freaking warrior. He survived that. Got a new deal with the Cubs. I think he's still one of the most underrated pitchers at this point. And yeah, Stroman had a good second half there for them. Bellinger on a prove-it deal, kind of like the Jock Peterson, former Dodger, play in Chicago a couple years ago. What are your takes on their offseason so far?
Like I said, the Cubs are in an interesting spot. They've been spending a little bit of money this and last year. And obviously last year, signing guys like Stroman. I think they also got Clint Frazier last year, a couple other small moves in that addition. But yeah, obviously the Taillon move was nice. The Cody Bellinger move was nice. Yeah, like I said, the Cubs are in an interesting spot. I mean, obviously, I think right now this NL Central Division hands down goes to the Cardinals, but right now the Brewers are really not in the best of looks. I mean, the Brewers got good pitching, but that offense is weak. Could the Brewers, start calling up, putting some guys up for sale? Could we see a fire sale and rebuild in the Brewers organization? This Cubs team, they're not horrible. Having a team of, maybe, you look at that outfield, it's not horrible. An outfield of Ian Happ, Christopher Morel, Seiya Suzuki, Cody Bellinger. It's not horrible. Nico Horner, pretty underrated shortstop, great defensively, decent contact approach. Patrick Wisdom has also been a guy that's been a good name lately. Nick Madrigal. So, we'll see. Obviously, losing Wilson Contreras was definitely a little bit of a blow. So we'll see how, Yan Gomes performs down the line. Cubs don't really have a great farm, so that could be something they could look into. Obviously, they do have a couple good guys like Pete Crow Armstrong. He'll definitely be a pretty good, he's a center field prospect. So obviously, you could probably shift him over to right or left, depending on, how he goes. He probably has 2 more years in the farm. The rotation, I guess, obviously is horrible. I mean, considering right now, you have Marcus Stroman, Jameson Taillon, Kyle Hendricks, a.k.a. the Professor, Javier Assad. One guy I do like, who I do think could have a little bit of a nice season, is Hayden.
Probably bring back either Wade Miley or
Wade
really good Miley as a prospect.
Yeah, Wade Miley or another, veteran type caliber player to be a 4 or 5 starter. But Hayden Wesneski, and not because we share the same first name or are both Polish, but he's definitely had an interesting, nice season for them. He was drafted by the Yankees just in 2019. So for a pitching prospect, obviously got called up quite quickly. Obviously had a big boost in the Chicago Cubs organization and the minor leagues and got called up in September. Small sample size, obviously 33 innings. He struck out 33 batters, a 0.94 whip, 2.18 ERA to look at some of the basic stats. Not a horrible guy. 25 years old. I do have an interest when it comes to prospects. If you're a Cubs fan, he's probably the one guy to keep an eye out for, maybe along with guys like Pete Crow Armstrong. So Hayden Wesneski, definitely a nice little piece there. It could be something for y'all down the line. Cubs, like I said, are in an interesting spot. They definitely do have some work to do. Obviously, bringing in, like I said, a guy like Cody Bellinger was a really good move for them, along with Jameson Taillon. Those are 2 good moves, in my opinion. Like I said, nothing too expensive, but you definitely can get some talent. Definitely you can get, a nice leadership role there, teach some of the other youngling type guys. So, yeah, we'll see. Like I said, this NL Central Division, his hands down goes to the Cardinals. But, are the Brewers necessarily going to finish with a 500 record? Yeah, we're going to see how things go. Obviously, the Reds not doing much.
Depends on how they are come August.
Yeah, Pirates have a young team, O'Neill Cruz, Brian Hayes. We'll see what they do with Brian Reynolds. But, they got a great farm system. We'll see. Pirates and Cubs are kind of, on the verge of just really buying, I feel. I think the Cubs have the upper hand. But, yeah, obviously this was a Cubs team that lost how many games last year? They lost they finished 3rd in the Central. It was 88 games. So 74 and 88 isn't horrible. So, maybe this could be a team that, could go around 500 this season.
No.
I do have a soft spot for the Cubs. So, we'll see how things go out for them. It's going to be an interesting year for the Cubbies.
hard to
What?
it's hard to hate the Cubs. I said it's hard to hate the Cubs. You kind of bring up a good point there about how their farm isn't good, and that's a worrying point. And maybe that's why the owners are already pocketbook back up, knowing how weak that division is. They traded their cornerstones. They traded Baez. They traded Rizzo. They traded
You got nothing.
Ryan, all of them. Got pieces back. Yeah, like they looked good in the high A ball for a little bit. Haven't done much since then. They don't even trade Contreras. He's gone. You got a qualifying offer, so Trump has, in theory, like Ian Happ is probably on the move if they're not contending come July. Like you got to think that they're not going to make that same mistake twice. Like they still got David Bodie. He's basically the Mets Luis Guillorme. He's the bench guy that's been there for a long time that everybody loves. They're in an interesting spot, that's for sure, and it's a big what if. Saying, will the Ricketts, aka the Cubs owners, pay money? Should be immediately second place, but if they don't, they're just stuck in mediocrity until they decide that the division widens open for them, or they just sell the team. So we'll see. This is definitely going to be a team that you'll have to see how they are come June, how they are come July, to see if they're going to be in the table for the wild card or if they'll be retooling again for 2024. All I know is no matter what, Wrigley Field's going to be packed. That's one thing I'll give them credit for. They pack that place. They party in that place.
I'll be there
every matinee afternoon. Oh yeah, I've been to Wrigley. It's a fun environment. I saw 2 Braves victories there. Actually, it was 1 Cubs victory, 1 Braves victory. I saw Kimbrel's debut there with the Cubs. It's a fun little play. Is the Mets going to be there too?
Nah, some of my buddies and I were going to go. I believe it's Cubs and Phillies. So that'll be.
So you'll be cheering for the Cubs. Cool.
Probably, yeah. So yeah, I went to Wrigley for 2 games last year. It's a nice ballpark, I will say. Obviously, has the nostalgia, nice history. Definitely they got demolished in both games, the Cubs. But those fans were electric. You had the beer snake, whatever it's called, the cup snake. You had fans, doing crazy stuff. We had I sat with
not doing the wave.
Yeah, the bench, it's electric. We sat in the bleachers, all college kids, it was awesome. Phenomenal time, great atmosphere, electric. Can only imagine what it's like when it's a winning Cubs team. So hopefully that'll be soon.
Yes, yeah, baseball is more fun when the Cubs are good. They're a team that, like, when they're good, when the Yankees are good, as much as sometimes their fan base does kind of, which the Cubs fan base is not bad at all. As much as some big market fan bases make it hard to root for a team, baseball is better when teams like the Cubs are good. It's a shame that they're not right now, but they had a good 5 or 6 year streak to retool, and hopefully that retool keeps going correctly, so they're good sooner than later. Let's see if there's anything else left on here. We talked about Cody Bellinger. I guess we'll get in the ML draft real quick. I know you might have the more memorized than I do. All I know is that the Nationals or the Athletics tanked for 6th. The Royals tanked, got 8th. Pirates and Nationals kind of worked out. They got 1st and 2nd respectively. They'll each get studs. Sometimes 2nd is the better place to be because the 1st place you'll be like, what, this is their needs. That means we can adjust to this. Boom. And if they don't go X, then we get X. It's like almost I think that the Diamondbacks liked being in 2nd place last year too. They knew that they were either going to get Matt Holliday's son or they were going to get Andrew Jones' son. And either way, they were going to get a stud. And they knew the Orioles needed an infield prospect, and they got Andrew Jones' son. So very cool to see there. I think it'll be another similar situation. I mean, let's see. I know a lot of people are going to say, well, the Pirates are taking number 1, a future Yankee star in their system. Let's hope that's not the case. I mean, with how the Pirates, you and I have talked about it before, with how the Pirates, I really want to see them compete in a couple of years. Especially if the Reds stay on a fire sale and if the Cubs retool doesn't go correctly. Even if the owners try not to, there's a chance that they will be a competitive team. And with how much that city loves the Penguins and the Steelers, if the Pirates had a good August and September, that ballpark would be like how the Phillies came alive. We're not saying that they're going to go on a World Series run. You see a video. If the team was good, the backing would be electric, just as any other city with a good sports market. Do you have the top 10 pulled up?
I do.
My computer would probably crash if I pulled up another.
Yeah, I could pull it up if you want me to share my screen. I could quickly go over it for a second. You just got to give me permission to share. On the bottom
Sure.
left corner. So yeah, obviously taking a
You
look see,
ready?
we know. Yeah, obviously taking a little look see, we know that the Pittsburgh
Okay.
Pirates have the number one pick. Obviously, this is something new. Last year's collective bargaining agreement came into an agreement
What up,
that in
Jack?
MLB it will be a draft lottery and it'll no longer be based off of record. Obviously, record will have a better chance that you'll get the number one pick. But obviously, last year, the two worst teams in Major League Baseball were tied. I believe were the Washington Nationals, and I want to say the Athletics were tied for the worst record. May have just been the Nationals. But yeah, obviously they shook things up a little bit. So Pittsburgh Pirates, who I think finished maybe like sixth to last, fifth to last, get the first overall pick. Back-to-back years, obviously. I believe it was last year. I want to say who in the MLB 2022 draft they got Henry Davis, or is that 2021? Who's draft? 2022 draft order. Okay, no, my apologies. That was 2021 then. Last year, the Pirates had the fourth pick. So not bad for the Pirates. 2021, you get the first pick. 2022, you get the fourth pick. And then once again, 2023, you get the first pick. So 1-4-1, not horrible. That Pirates farm is loaded, and it's going to continue to help it out. Nationals second. Tigers take a big help. Tigers only finished like fifth, sixth last. They get moved up. Rangers fourth. Twins fifth. Athletics sixth. Reds seventh. Kansas City Royals 8, Colorado Rockies 9.
Twins had the biggest jump.
Twins and Tigers both, I believe, had the biggest jump. Obviously, Miami Marlins 10th. Their farm system is loaded. They're going to need some help. Los Angeles Angels 11th. 12th, Arizona Diamondbacks. 13th, Chicago Cubs. 14th, the Boston Red Sox. 15th, Chicago White Sox. 16, San Francisco Giants. 17, Baltimore Orioles. Crazy enough to say that they're 17. 18th, Milwaukee Brewers. 19th, Rays. 20th, Blue Jays. 21st, Cardinals. 22nd, Mariners. 23rd, Guardians. 24th, Braves. 25th, Padres. 26th, Yankees. 27th, Phillies. 28 Astros. Obviously, the compensation picks. They are, once again, they will get 2 picks in the first round. Like I said, compensation pick because Julio Rodriguez received Rookie of the Year. So that was a little benefit from them there. And then they will also get
that was part of bringing the guy up.
Yes, that is true. Julio Rodriguez. And then they will also get another pick, number 30. And it's pretty much just that all teams that have either one of the 10 smallest markets or the 10 smallest revenue pools will receive an additional end to the first or second round. So obviously the Rays and the Mariners will be awarded with that. The Mets do get dropped, obviously, to number 32 because they were dropped 10 seats because they exceeded the CBT threshold by more than 40 million. So that was definitely a big oof there. But at the end of the day, who cares? The Mets are phenomenal when it comes to drafts. Billy Epler, the last 2 drafts have been phenomenal, so not really worried about that. Obviously, Dodgers are also 36. They were moved 10 spots for the same reason because of the CBT competitive balance tax threshold violation by 40 million. And then, it pretty much just goes down to the second round, compensation pick, third round, fourth round. And, it keeps going. So, yeah, obviously, pretty much moral of the story is the Pittsburgh Pirates will get the number 1 pick for the second time in the last 3 years. So, Pittsburgh, definitely they have some young guys on that team. O'Neal Cruz, K. Brian Hayes. Get some good draft guys in the mix. We'll see as Henry Davis almost ready to be called up. We'll see how things go. Pirates got a good, nice little future
O'Neal
there.
Brian to progress.
Absolutely.
And who knows, maybe Brian Reynolds does stay for the last 3 years. Jack Sawinski's over there at the outfield with him. They still got Michael Chavis. I think that was a sneaky pickup. They'll probably keep him for a couple of years. G-Man Choi, as my family likes to call him, Chubbs. He's more of a short-term pick up. Oh my God, the Hawks just fouled Seth Curry on a 3-point shot. Yes, they did. Woohoo!
Carlos Santana wasn't horrible. I did like that for them.
Yeah. They always bring a couple, veterans to play with the rookies. It's just the Pirates. The only reason they're never good is the ownership. Every time they get a chance to be good, they pockets away, and it looks like Brian Reynolds is on the brink of maybe being that next guy. And who knows if he goes to Boston, if he goes to Atlanta, if he goes to the Yankees, like every other Pirates star trade happens. We'll have to see. I don't know. Is there anything else that you talk about from this last week of the 2022 winter meetings that wrapped up? Any other funny storylines?
Yeah, no, I mean not that I could think of. Obviously, we briefly discussed Taiwan Walker, obviously going to the Phillies. That was another little move there. Otherwise, that was really it in terms of the big free agent signing. Kenley Jansen to the Red Sox. We'll see Boston Red Sox.
Yeah,
they're
true.
kind of a frustrating situation, so we'll see.
So, if that seems to be it, we're glad that the hot stove was fortunate this week, and Hayden and I got back on after like a 4 or 5 day hiatus. As I said, we hope to see you guys as much as possible here this off season. We're really at the wits, and we're just kind of going with the flow of how the market goes. If there's a big trade, if not, we'll be here at least probably bi-weekly at furthest apart, hopefully weekly. That's what we plan, at least come regular season. But yeah, I'm glad it's a shorter off season. At least it feels that way. I only get the winter meetings. I mean, if you get past Christmas and you're a fan of other sports, you get the NFL playoffs. And once you get past the NFL playoffs, there's March Madness and it's baseball time. So it'll be here before we know it. That's for sure. And there's still a lot to, I'm glad that you got your guy Brandon Nimmo back as your buddy, but I'm hoping we get Dansby Swanson back. I hope that I'll be in that same boat where I get to come home from a family dinner, which I have. Who knows? He's getting married tomorrow. Maybe that'll be his wedding gift from Alexopoulos is a contract, and I get to come home from my Christmas family dinner in the same spirit that you did. If you guys want to follow us, of course, follow him over here, my boy. This way, my boy over here at Mets Hayden on Twitter. Baseball and sports. You guys follow us. I'm here at Newsom Sports ATL. Make sure you guys sub to the Hardcore Sports Network. My channel here at Blake Newsom. Of course, Hayden with Let's Talk with Hayden. He's got a lot of good content going on over there. Not only live video form for all the baseball and Mets fans. Make sure you guys go give him a check out. And we'll have to see you guys soon. And you guys have a great rest of your weekend. And keep it going a ball. So you keep giving us the thing to talk about. Be here. See you guys soon.